Today, take a look at the VEVOR stick welder. So we got our instructions. We have our adapter. This is a 220 male to a 120 female. So you do have to be careful with this style of adapter. You don't want to just leave this plugged into a wall and have somebody plug something else into it, because that will give them 220 volts to whatever that equipment is. Essentially, you just want to keep this with the welder. What that does mean is we can use this with 120 with regular household outlet, or we can use it with 220 if we have that available. Here's our stinger. You can see that does have a star pattern, so we can hold the rod at different angles. And this has a pretty nice spring on it as a standard twist style lock. Looks like we're gonna have the same thing for our working clamp. The working clamp has a very nice spring on it. One thing I really like to see is it has this copper braiding right here. That way it's making a better connection on this side than this side with the cable. You won't have to rely on this pin in order to carry that current. So very happy that they did that. And it looks like there was a practice rod in the box. So there's our welder. So we got the positive and the negative. Those are both well labeled. We have our selector, so we have both MMA or a lift TIG. We have our dial. It has a push button on it. It looks like we'll be able to set current, hot start, arc force, and then whether or not we want VRD. In the back, we do have a 120 volt plug. We do have active cooling, and we have our on-off switch under a membrane. We have current, hot start. I'll turn that all the way up. Arc force. I'll turn that all the way up. Right now it's at 30. I'm going to turn this to 60 amps. One thing I do like about this one is that the dial is actually responsive. I don't have to like really work it to get the exact number that I want. Some of them can be complicated. This one is not. Okay, so that runs surprisingly smooth. I think the most surprising thing about it is that 60 amps is too hot for 1/8-inch steel. It was starting to burn through it. Well, I'm going to turn that down. Let's go with 50 amps. Well, it starts up extremely well. Even 50 amps is too high. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Let's go down to 40. I'm going to start on another piece too, just in case this side just got too high. So yeah, there you can see it actually started out really well, but as I started putting more heat into the plate, it started just melting right into it. I started running a little faster, so you can see the bead is a little thinner, but the arc force lowering also seemed to help. I'll take it all the way down to 30, so that is the minimum for this welder. So that I feel is a little bit more reasonable. So I think a big part of playing with this one is just playing with the new settings, the arc force and the hot start. I do believe that the hot start was just staying on too long, so we're just gonna have to keep that down. So it's just a matter of knowing the equipment that you're running on. That thing can definitely melt some metal. Like you can see the penetration that I was getting on those welds. That's on 1/8 inch thick steel, and that little guy can melt right through it. So very powerful welder.